Okay, so for those of you guys who are used to having meetings with me or videos of that I've done, this one's going to be a little more casual because I want to show you how to use a Microsoft Teams meeting. So we're going to start and assume that you've already got your meeting or team set up and you've created your meeting, and now you want to just actually launch your meeting and get going. So we're going to start by going to our meeting that we've created. We're going to click on that meeting, and I want to join using those credentials for that meeting. So we're going to hit join on the meeting. So it's actually blue because there's already somebody in our meeting. But in general, I'll show you that in a minute because I had stopped this meeting and did another one. So before our meeting actually launches and we actually join it, we are going to talk about how to get a background. So in order to get our background, we're going to click on our video launch meeting. We're going to click on effects and avatars. And from this screen, we're going to work on our video effects. Our video effects allow us to put this background in. There are a number of standard preset videos effects that are preloaded in Microsoft Teams. You can pick whatever you want. In addition, you can add a new one by clicking here, Add New. So if you would like to add one of the Walled Lake backgrounds, you can do that as well. You can blur your background. You blur your existing background. So that is my office, and it is blurred so you can't see how much of a mess it is. But we're going to put our escape artist back on. Before I join, I can also click on a number of the other settings here, including I can come in and have my microphone muted if I want. We're not going to do that one right now. So I'm going to go ahead and join the meeting. And here is my meeting. And I have it actually set up for everybody in our view. So I have this under views. This is set up to together mode. We're going to change it to gallery mode so that we can just see what's going on here. And then we can see who's in our meeting and what's going on. So Darth Vader's already here in our meeting, waiting for us. You wouldn't normally have that. I just had this meeting open before I got going. So I want to know what it's going to be like if somebody's going to join my meeting. So I'm going to join here. We have our other guest joining the meeting. And they're going to join us. And we're going to get a little notification at the top of the screen saying, hey, R2D2 wants to join our meeting. And we're going to admit him. So we're going to, just like this, under our people, here is flagged with a notification that I have somebody waiting. And we're going to admit them. They were in our lobby. So now R2D2's joining. Now he's joining and his microphone's on. So I'm going to click down here and I'm going to mute so that we can't hear the feedback going on. We're getting feedback because he is in the same room I am. So on his end, R2D2 is saying that he has been muted and he can unmute on his end. We get started, and that's our meeting and our notifications here. So I can click on who's in our meeting. I have all of our meeting participants in here. And then R2D2 has a question. So he's going to raise his hand on the raise his hand button on his toolbar at the top of his screen. That he raised a little icon next to his thumbnail. And in the participant list, he raised his hand. So Darth Vader raised his hand as well. And I can see here the order people raise their hands. If that is something that I need to be aware of, I can see what order they raised their hands. And I said, nope, Vader, take care of your issue. I can put your hand down. I click on the little dots next to the name and I hit lower hand, and that will put Darth Vader's hand down. And then the same thing with R2D2. We're putting his hand down. We answered his question. He can do that on his own as well. So we can raise our hands and we can see who's in here. We also have a chat conversation, just like when we are used to in Zoom. There is a side chat conversation. Now, one of the different things about using Teams is that we had a whole bunch of stuff going on here for our meeting chat. We get all the details for our meeting in terms of who's coming and who's going. But in addition, our chat meeting is not just tied to this meeting. I can actually come into my Teams dashboard here and go to chat. And my chat, the title of this meeting was called "What Does This Look Like?" My chat is here as well in my chat dashboard, so I can see who else or what other conversations are going on. And this message will show up in my meeting, so I can see it, so the participants can see it on the other side. So if I go to Darth Vader or to R2-D2 screen, they would see that message and can participate in that. So that's with the chat. It's actually kind of a running thing that isn't just, it's more global, and it's not just limited to this conversation, this meeting right now. All right, the reaction screen here, I can applaud that I am happy with what they're saying. You'll see a little emoji go on down there, or if my participants want to react as well, they can do it. And it's just a short little mini animation that goes over top of their thumbnail, and you can see it. It's just an affirmation for the conversation. If you notice, all of the reactions that are on here are all generally positive, except for maybe the surprise face. But there's no negative reactions to anything. So we can change our view using the view button. We talked about the together mode. I can change it and I can see who's going on. Under more options, we're going to click on more options, and we can show a gallery. We can have people who are coming to join our meeting, have them by default, make sure that their incoming video is turned off if that isn't turned off in the meeting settings, or we can have it go full screen, which I actually already had my set up as full screen. I'm not really going to go into rooms or apps right now. Rooms would be for breakout rooms if we were going to use breakout rooms, and we can get into that more if you're going to use Teams more deeply with larger groups. But for basic small meetings, we're just going to stick to having the main group. Apps is also, there's other pieces that you can have tied into Microsoft Teams that will allow you to pull in other features. We're not going to use any of those, but there's a lot of options in Teams that you can pull in automatically. Okay, so under the More button, this is where we actually get some more information of things that we want to do. To record your meeting for whatever reason, if it's a public meeting that you want access to later, if you're recording yourself doing a presentation, that is where you're going to do that. So under More, you go to Record and Transcribe, and then pick Start Recording. It'll give you a few seconds warning, and just like when we were doing Zoom or a Google Meet, it will start recording your meeting and all of the pieces with it. The meeting info is useful, particularly if you need to have somebody join your meeting that you didn't send the original information. So when I originally set up this meeting, I had done it so the content of the body of the email is here as well. I can send my join information, which will send the link. I can copy that, send it via email or a text message to somebody, and it will send to them the join information, or I could just read them the information that is down here. The effects and avatars, which we went through at the beginning. So you can change your video or your background during your meeting. If you're doing conferences and nobody's in there, you can change your video or your background while you're waiting for your next meeting. All right, so we're going to close that up here. All right, still under More. Go to Language and Speech. So this is one of the really nice things that you could do is, particularly if you have somebody on the other end who's having a hard time listening to you. So we're going to turn on live captioning. And then I'm going to pick what language people are using. We're going to pick English, American English. And as soon as I do this, we're going to give it a second to kick in. So the live captions are actually just for me. So I can see them, but my participants are not seeing those. At the end of this video, I will double check to make sure it's on the recording. So if I were to be doing a recording or doing a screen share for myself, that I would be able to see that. So I'm going to turn that off right now. Oopsie. Because it can be a little distracting. Come on. Turn them off. And then they will go away. All right, so those are gone. So finally under here, I can go into my meeting settings and I can look at my device settings. That will help me if I need to change where my audio is coming out, or I can change the microphone settings, things like that. The call health will tell me what kind of connectivity I have. I can also go into the meeting options, and this will allow me to make meeting specific settings, such as allowing people to get in without going through the lobby. If I want to make that change right now, I have it set that only the organizers or co-organizers, so myself, or if I were to invite somebody to lead the meeting for me, a team teacher or something, they would also be able to bypass the lobby to start the meeting. I can search for participants for my co-organizers. This allows me to anybody else who happens to be in my organization, who's in the meeting, who's invited to the meeting. I can indicate them as a co-organizer. So if you have a team teacher who needs to be in the meeting with you, you can make them a co-organizer. Who can present, you can change by default. Everyone can present. You can limit this to just people in your organization, which means people in Walled Lake. It's very specific people, or the people who are running the meeting, myself or a co-teacher that I have designated up here. Allowing the mic for the attendees. So this might be one that I don't want anybody who's participating to talk unless I have marked them as a organizer. So I can turn that on or off for anybody to do it, to speak overall. Same thing with camera. I can allow people to have cameras or not have cameras. And I can also have it set to record automatically. This setting, if you have meetings that always need to be turned on, then you can do that. You can turn on and off the reactions. If you're working with a bunch of kids, you may or may not want those reactions all the time. And then the attendance report, this will tell me who's coming and going and what time that they show up. So those are meeting options. Now these last three buttons are ones that you're probably familiar. Camera button, I can turn on and off my camera. And you will get the avatar that's associated with your account by default if you turn it off. The microphone, same deal. I can turn it, I can mute myself or not. And then the share button. So I'm going to click on my share. It's going to give me all my different options for sharing. I have the ability to share from Whiteboard, content from camera, PowerPoint Live, and other Microsoft elements. Right now, we're just going to concentrate on either sharing my screen or sharing a window. If I share my screen, that means that anything I do on the screen is going to be shared amongst the meeting. So I can pull in different programs. So I can pull in something from Chrome, and then I can pull something in from Firefox. Or I can pick a particular window that I want to share. And so I am going to pick Publisher. And I have a Publisher file that I created just for the point of this. And so therefore, everybody can see my Publisher file that I've got going on, and the toolbars. And so I also am waiting right now. I've got a thumbnail that's popping up, and that's going to allow me to keep an eye on what's going on in my meeting. So I can see my participants in this thumbnail in the bottom corner. And then if I go to the top of the screen and just bring my mouse up to the top of the screen, I get presentation controls. And one of the cool things about this is I can do like picture in picture, and it's going to show me what it'll be displaying. So if I put this standout here, what that does is it puts me in front of the window that I'm sharing. And I get a little pop-up screen that's going to show me what I'm sending out to my participants. And I can change the size and of how large I'm taking up of the screen, but they can still see me and they can see what I am sharing out. And I can do that and have myself next to it, or even in more of a newscaster role. If I was in share my screen mode, I would have an annotation option as well. But I picked share my window. The other thing I can do is I can give control to somebody. So if I want somebody to show me how to do something, they're walking me through a tutorial on how to use Publisher, I can give control to one of my participants, but only a participant that's somebody who's in the organization. I can't give control over to a guest. So I could pass off control over to R2D2 if I wanted to, and he could show me how to do something on the computer. When I finish presenting, I can hit here, either at the top, I hit stop presenting, or I hit the little white square with the X, and that'll stop sharing my screen and end that part of the meeting. And that should make my thumbnail and my view all go away. We're going to make this go full screen again. Okay, so then the last piece is how to end the meeting. So I have the big red button here to end the meeting, to leave the meeting. But if I hit the little arrow next to it, I get two options. I can either leave the meeting, which allows Darth Vader and R2D2 to still have a conversation, or I can end the meeting for everybody. If I leave the meeting, I just leave the meeting. If I hit end meeting, which I'm going to do, it's going to end the meeting for all participants, and it shuts down the meeting on the other end, and they can no longer get back into it. So I'm going to do that, and that will be gone. So then I'm going to go back here to my chat conversation, and you're going to see there's lots of conversation going on. But this is actually a recording of all of the events that happened with our meeting. And it does record, it does not record when our members of the organization joined the meeting, but it does record each time that the guest came and went from the meeting. So for conferences, for example, you would have a log of when people came and went, in addition to our attendance. And then it tells me how long the meeting lasted and everything, and when I started it and ended it again. So hopefully, in a nutshell, that is how Microsoft Teams works.